Hey guys, this is JAde with Dallas Jamming, and today we're going to be doing a comparison video between the Teenage Engineering OP-1 and the Electron Analog 4, specifically the Analog 4 MK2. So I know comparing these two items is kind of like apples and oranges because they're so different, but you got to remember, they both have 4 tracks, they both have sequencers, and they can both be used as drum machines, so there are some similarities there. But which one is better for your situation than the other? Let's find out. So right off the top, we know that the Analog 4 is almost twice as expensive as the OP-1. It's also twice as big. It also works with modular, it has 4 CV outputs and 2 CV expression inputs, and it's really more of a desktop unit, one that you would use in your studio, like pretty much as your main piece, or to add on to your studio. The OP-1, on the other hand, I feel like it's an all-in-one machine. It is a sampler, it has various sequencers, it has a built-in keyboard with 2 octaves, and I really feel like the OP-1 is a keyboardist dream workstation. You can do everything on the OP-1 through the keyboard. You make your drums with the keyboard, you make your sequences with the keyboard, you pretty much sample with the keyboard, and everything just revolves around the keyboard. With the Analog 4, on the other hand, you can use the 1-octave keyboard, and you can also plug a MIDI controller in it, but if you don't plug a MIDI controller in it, you only have that 1 octave, and a lot of people do prefer to input the notes with the steps, which is kind of like the Electron workflow type of thing. The other cool thing about the OP-1 is that it's battery powered. It's like an all-in-one Groovebox to me. With the A4, it's kind of hard to call it a Groovebox because I've talked about this before. If you want to layer a kick and a snare, you're going to have to use an extra track, and then you have to really be careful where you place your steps so you don't steal any sounds from the other voices. And when you're creating, that kind of puts you like in a restricted position because you have an idea in your head and you want to execute it a certain way and you can't because of hardware limitations. So just think about that if you think that the A4 is going to be like an all-in-one Groovebox, because that's why they have the Dark Trinity, or now the Gray Trinity, because the Analog 4 isn't really a drum machine, it's supposed to be a 4-voice synth. Drums are just a plus. So if you want drums, you better get the rhythm and might as well get the octatrack while you're at it. With the OP-1, it's like the apocalypse synth, like that would be all you need to make complete tracks. You can export them into your DAW, you get your 4 tracks in your DAW, and it's battery powered, it's small, it's as well built as the Electron Analog 4, so don't think that you're missing out on build quality because the OP-1 build quality is extremely amazing, and so is the A4, especially the new MK2 ones, the tilted ones, because you don't need a stand or anything to use them. If you do use the digital audio workstation in your workflow, you might want to get the Analog 4 because now Overbridge is going to be free, which is totally awesome. They switched it from basic, it was like $100 for premium, now it's all free for everybody, which is totally awesome. So that will allow you to tweak everything from your computer to the A4, and it will pretty much give you more control over mastering and making sure that everything is perfect for your final production of that song. The OP-1, on the other hand, even though it has a USB, you can't just plug it in and use the synth engines in your DAW. You're just going to be able to record the audio or transfer the tracks over. Both of these synthesizers have really amazing synth engines. Obviously the Analog 4 is going to have a more gritty analog sound because it's analog, and the OP-1 has a few synth engines. It can make really booming bass too, it makes string sounds, it makes all types of effects, and so can the A4. With the A4 MK2, you do get 4 separate outputs, so you get to output all your 4 tracks into your mixer and put effects on them externally or into your interface and record them into separate tracks. But like I said, with the OP-1, you can't do those type of things. So it's really make your beat on the OP-1, finish the track, transfer them. Also, the onboard effects on both units are really amazing. I feel like it's easier to handle them on the A4 because they're sequences, so you could turn them on and off. On the OP-1, you're mainly working on an audio tape, so whatever you record, that's what's gonna stay on there. They do have the M1 and M2, which is the memory on the OP-1, where you can add an effect and save it and play it on top of the tape. But that's a bit different and it's only one effect at a time. So keep that in mind when you're deciding between the two. Do you want to work with audio or do you want to work with a sequencer? I love working with a sequencer. The OP-1 also has a sequencer. It has actually a couple of sequencers that act a little bit different, but the OP-1 doesn't really play as friendly with other gear as the Analog 4 does. The Analog 4 can sequence modular, it can easily plug to your other gear via MIDI. With the OP-1, you have to take that extra step of getting a USB host if you do want to integrate it with your other gear. So just keep those things in mind when deciding between the two. Ultimately, they're both great choices and they're both great synthesizers, so it really depends on what you're looking for. That's it for today, guys. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and support a sister on Patreon if you can. Catch you later.